don't know what it is to be the champions. Oklahoma, we've done it.
Excellence has been established by Coach Wilkinson, Coach Switzer, and Coach Stoops. It's my responsibility to defend that standard and to build upon that standard.
Welcome to the Oklahoma Drill Podcast with your hosts, Jesse Crittenden and Brian Clinton.
Hello, Sooner Nation, OU Insider subscribers, Coach Brian Clinton enthusiasts. Man, so much has happened since the last time we recorded. I can't think of even a third thing. We moved to On3. Has that happened since the last time we recorded?
That sounds about right.
Probably. I went to SEC Media Days. I went to Atlanta. Media Day has happened. Fall camp started today. We're recording this on Thursday. Anybody that's interested in any of that,
Yeah.
this is the podcast for you. This is another episode of the Oklahoma Drill, a podcast fueled by OU Insider and On3 dash rivals. I think. Is that a dash? The up and down? That's not a. Is that a. What is that?
That's a good separate. I just call it a separator, but that's not what it's called.
I'm more of an M dash guy myself.
Yeah,
My name is
same.
Jesse Crittenden. I'm joined by Brian Clinton. And Brian, it's been like a month. I don't know how long it's been since we
It's
recorded.
been a minute. Yeah.
Been a minute.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I new career path.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just like I became a pastor since the last time that we started this, which is just crazy. But like, yeah, here we are. It's wild. And football season is somehow we're 30 days away from kickoff for 2025. So yeah, lots has happened.
I feel like I should say it. I also, during our break, had a son. Here he is. He's 6 months old. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we haven't recorded is you are no longer a full-time journalist. You're a full-time minister.
I am.
Congrats on that, by the way.
I am. Thanks, man. Yeah. Still ate up with OU football though. So that will continue as much as possible. But thank you. I am very excited about the new career path, about the new calling. It's pretty awesome. So
One thing we didn't talk about is now that you are not officially covering the team in any capacity, we're going to continue to do the Oklahoma Drill. But since you're not, officially covering the team, you're not going to be able to go to games and stuff. You can really have that fan perspective.
yeah.
So
Start painting my face and wearing OU shirts on the pod again,
honestly, I could go way more like boring and objective and like no frills, and then you could go the complete opposite direction.
Yes. I will absolutely be like, I'll jump right back into hot takes. Like I could do that.
Yeah, like so if OU beats Michigan, like you can come
When
on
they
and
beat
say
Michigan.
they're going to win the Natty. Yeah, so you can say when they beat Michigan, they're going to win the Natty. And
Right.
then if they lose to Michigan, you can say fire Brent, fire the staff.
I probably wouldn't put it that. Yeah, but yes. Get rid of them all.
Get 'em- yeah. You know what? Oklahoma doesn't even need a football program. You can
just cut the program.
just cut it.
Focus on softball.
Softball, the team that didn't even win the Natty last year.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah,
forgot. Disappointing.
Yeah, cut them too. Good Lord, so much has happened. Yeah, I went to Atlanta. God, that was like 3 weeks ago. SC Media Days was like 3 weeks ago.
How was that?
It's good.
Good.
I detest Parker Thune and his travel itineraries. I want that on the record. We drove down to Dallas on Sunday night and then flew out of Dallas at 7:00 in the morning on Monday. And then our flight back home was at like 7:50 on Thursday. So I want it on the record. I detest Parker Thune and his travel itineraries. Quote me. I want someone to aggregate it. Quote me.
There you go.
But it was good. It was kind of the first time I had really gotten to spend time in like downtown Atlanta. Ryan Chapman and I went to the aquarium.
Sweet.
Yeah, I didn't even realize they have like the biggest aquarium in the world.
Yeah, largest tank on in the Western Hemisphere
I
with the
didn't. Yeah,
yeah, with the whale sharks. It's nuts.
whale sharks are crazy, man.
Yeah.
And they also have like guitar dolphins or something. They're called something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Very cool. It's a
Yeah.
cool like that and the Coca-Cola factory. Like you have to go those two things. If you're in Atlanta, you got to go experience those two things.
I went to the Coke factory. I don't know if it was Coca-Cola, but I went to a Coke factory. I don't know if it's the one you're talking about.
Maybe.
That's a joke about the narcotic. I didn't actually go to the I didn't go to the Coca-Cola museum. I should have.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Well, I guess I'll have to go back to Atlanta.
You need to fly back now for that. But I'm sorry, I'm taking us off the rails.
I'm gonna schedule a. You know what? I'm gonna fly out to Atlanta, and I'm not gonna leave at 7 in the damn morning. I can tell you that right now.
Oh, that's great.
Coming for you again, Parker. So much has happened, but it's too much to recap everything. But we were recording this on Thursday. Pre-camp media day was yesterday, and we heard from Ben Arbuckle and Brent Venables and several players. Can't remember who all we heard from. Jacob Sexton, Troy Everett, Jaden Ott. Got to talk to Jaden Ott for the first time on the record. He is a really funny guy. Got to talk to Taylor Wine.
Yep.
Kobe McKenzie. I might be missing a guy or two, but we talked to a bunch of guys. Loved getting to talk to Jaden Knott. I shared this on the radio, but one of my favorite moments of talking to Jaden Knott was he said one of the differences between California and Oklahoma is there's a lot more bugs in Oklahoma. And then he had his first encounter with a hornet's nest at his place of residence. And I asked him, how did you deal with it? And he said he was told that you could hold up like a can of gas next to the hornet's nest. And he was like, that was way too close for me. So
yeah, you have to put the glass around it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not willing to get that close.
Yeah. No. Which I understand that. And I've lived in Oklahoma my whole life. And I get that. But I think the thing for me to talk about more than anything from yesterday's stuff is the offensive line, because Ben Arbuckle reiterated what he said at the coaches' luncheon a week ago. He said it yesterday too, that was the group that was in the building more than any other position group during the summer. And I think he also said that was the group that probably made the most strides during the summer. Brent Venables mentioned that was, I think, from a weight room standpoint, that was the position group that made the most strides during the offseason. So just made me start really zooming in on this offensive line, because as much as we've talked about Jaden Knott and John Mateer, some of these new receivers, and we're going to talk about all of that in a second, I think one thing, not that's gone under the radar, because OU fans know how much of a question mark that offensive line is, but like, I don't know. You tell me what you think, Brian, when I say this. Because I start looking at the offensive line, talk to people around the program, think about what to watch during fall camp. We'll actually get to go to practice tomorrow. So by the time people hear this, media will have been able to go out to a practice. So I'll have a better idea of things then. I look at the 5 positions on the offensive line and I start thinking, is there any position that is just, that starting job is locked and sealed, no competition? Because I start looking at all 5 spots and I'm like, I think you could legitimately argue that at least 4 of the 5, if not all 5, there are 2 guys legitimately gunning for that spot.
Yeah.
What do you think of the offensive line, and what do you think of that?
I don't think you're wrong. I look at, which for some reason, Fabechi Nwiwu at right guard is like the only one that feels fairly solid, but that's also assuming that a guy like, Eddie Pierre-Louis doesn't fit in well there, and they don't slide. I mean, you could see them slide Sexton in if because there's been buzz about Michael Fasusi, if he's able to push and play that left tackle position. If you were to slide Sexton in, have him play guard, and Eddie Pierre Luis pushing for a guard spot. Like again, yeah, I think you could make an argument for all 5 spots. Now, in the same breath, I think you could also say that you feel pretty confident with a few of those spots with guys who should take the starting role. But that's we've seen crazier things come week 1, right? Especially with the offensive line under Bill Bedenbaugh. Like nothing is locked in until really that Texas game, regardless of the year. So, yeah, I think you could give me like 8 combinations, and I wouldn't really argue with you on that.
I would agree. Part of what makes this intriguing, though, is for one, it was interesting to hear Ben Arbuckle talk about Michael Fasusi, and he said he's going to have opportunities, and he is. Like Michael Fasusi can win a starting job, 100,000,000% that could happen. And given Bill Bedenbaugh's history with underclassmen offensive line, if he wins the job, that means he beat out Jacob Sexton and Logan Howland at left tackle. Because I think Sexton, after kind of aimlessly switching back and forth between guard and tackle, I think he's going to be mostly a tackle. But you've also got Logan Howland there, who started several games last year. If Michael Fasusi wins that job, it's because he beat both of them, because both of those guys are healthy heading into fall camp.
And that would be huge.
Yeah, it'd be massive. And I mean, you look at left guard, like, I mean, Eddie Pierre Louis could play either of those guard spots. I think he's going to lean more left, but you could also argue you could slide Heath Ozida at left guard. Daniel Akinkume, you could put either of those guys at left guard, slide Eddie Pierre Louis to right guard. But like, as of now, even if Febechi Wiwu has that right guard spot, you've got 3 guys battling for left guard.
Yep.
You hear a lot about UK Dan during the summer. A lot about UK Dan. Yeah. Eddie Pierre Louis, the first guy that Brent mentioned when he was talking about underclassmen at SEC Media Days. At center, I think you can lean Troy Everett. I've been going back and forth. I think you can feel good if he wins that spot, because that means he beat out Jake Michla. Right. And then at right tackle, like Derek Simmons, Jake Taylor, like Jake Taylor was the starter when healthy last year.
Right.
But Derek Simmons, I think it'll be Derek Simmons. It would surprise me if it's not. But outside of maybe right guard, unless Ryan Foje is just awesome, which I think he will be. But again, he's young. I don't know, man. Not only is it really intriguing, and I think they have more talent and more continuity than they did a year ago. There were guys banged up heading into fall camp last year.
Right.
They need, it's pivotal that they find the right combination of guys pretty quickly. I don't think this is a year they can say, we'll figure it out the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, no, the quicker the better. Well, and here's the other thing, like wide receivers, tight ends, running back question, like all of that aside, if you give a quarterback like John Mateer solid protection, you're gonna move the football. Like you just will. Like it's you don't have to have, and that's I'm saying that while also fully believing that the cast around Mateer has a chance to be special. Like they do. There are some players there that, if healthy, can really tune this offense up from a season ago. So if the offensive line gets things figured out, and it sounds and feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds and feels like they feel better about their spot right now than they did going into this time last year. I think that answers a lot of your question marks, really for the team, because you feel pretty good about the other side of the ball. But yeah, offensive line, you really want to get by about mid-August. You would like to know, okay, pretty solidly, like these are your 5 plus a couple of rotation guys.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I'll say this right now, regardless of who the week 1 starters are. Like if you told me to put the over under, like put an over under betting number on snaps that Fasusi and Eddie Pierre Louis will put at, like pick a number that I would feel comfortable going over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting it at 250.
Yep.
Well, yeah, those guys are going to play.
They're too good. They're too good not to. Like, especially with how much. I mean, if you look at the roster, you probably lose a lot of experience after this year. So you're absolutely banking on the fact that guys like Pierre Louis and Fasusi are going to be ready to roll and play starting roles next year. So yeah, I think you have to. And it's almost, I don't want it to sound like it's out of necessity, because I do think the guys that could be ahead of them are more than serviceable. But I think just as far as roster management, yeah, you're going to need those guys to play and get some experience.
I will bookend this conversation by saying if I had to guess the week 1 starters, if I had to guess them right now without having even seen a practice, I could feel differently by tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. If I had to guess week 1 starters, I think it's Jacob Sexton at left tackle. This one makes me feel squeamish, but I'm going to say it. I think Eddie Pierre Louis gets the left guard spot. I do. I think Troy Everett. Oh, that one makes it even more squeamish. I think Troy Everett will get the center spot.
Mm-hmm.
I think Fabechi Wiwu will be your starting right guard. I think it'll be Derek Simmons at right tackle.
Yeah.
Now, I actually think that's a little different than the depth chart projections I put out a couple of days ago. I think I had Ozaida at left guard, and I think I had Michaela at center. But
and those wouldn't be surprising.
No, they wouldn't. Hell, Logan Hallen could be your starting left tackle. It may not even be Fasusi or Sexton. It could be Logan Hallen. So, like, I could feel differently tomorrow morning. I could feel differently a week from now. And I think it's possible that the week 1 starting group is not the starting group for Michigan or Auburn.
I would almost bet money that it's not.
That it's
just
not.
Just by happenstance, there's a lot going into that Michigan game. So yeah, anyways.
Well, I would say, like, even with the Fasusi stuff, which I'm not even comparing them directly as players. I'm not. This is more about Bill Bedenbaugh history with underclassmen, specifically freshmen, offensive linemen. Caden Green played a lot in his 1 year at Oklahoma. The first game he started?
Was it game 3?
No.
Oh, started. Sorry.
Started in 2023.
I'm thinking broke into the rotation.
The first game he started.
Was it Texas?
Nope. UCF.
When was it? Wow. Okay.
Caden Green made 5 starts as a Sooner.
And it was all, yeah.
So, like, I think the most likely scenario, I actually think, and this is more about what my gut is, again, without having watched practice, without having gotten through the rest of fall camp. My gut is, so like Caden Green played 32 snaps against Tulsa. He played 10 against Cincinnati, 4 against Iowa State. Then he played 60 against Texas, and then he basically started from there on out. Mm-hmm. My guess is Fasusi follows some sort of similar projection.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think to be a freshman under Bill Bedenbaugh to win a week one starting job, especially when you're competing against a veteran like Sexton, who was a starter last year when healthy.
Yeah.
You've also got Logan Howland in that room that started games last year. That is a incredible mountain to climb.
Right.
He could do it.
It's not anything about his limitations as
No.
an athlete. It's strictly, I think, more so than any other coach on that staff. He wants to be able to put you out there and trust that you know exactly what's going on before he lets you loose.
Well, I mean, I think if you ask people how many games did Caden Green start for OU in 2023, I think most people would say 8, 9,
8,
10.
Yeah. Yep.
Started 5 games.
Yep.
He had DNPs. Or I think he had at least one DNP before the Texas game. It's like, again, you're taking. So that's, you know what? We'll revisit that offensive line prediction. We'll revisit it.
I like it.
A week or so from today. I think it's also notable to talk about the cornerback room, which the 3 position groups that I would say are the most up in the air heading into fall camp, which again started today, is tight end, offensive line, cornerback.
Yep.
The cornerback one is tricky because you have your 2 starters when everyone's healthy. That's Eli Bowen and Gentry Williams.
Yep.
Eli Bowen is out to start fall camp. And to be honest with you, I would group him, Giovanni Gibson, and Jaden Gibson as 3 guys that, if you're asking me, what's the likelihood that they miss a game, at least? I think it's likely those 3 guys miss a game.
Excluding Illinois State, or you're saying they probably? I'm putting you under the fire a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say this. I would be a little surprised if all 3 guys are out there from Michigan.
Okay. Yeah.
That would surprise me.
Okay.
Not impossible.
Sure.
That would surprise me. Yeah. Not ideal that Eli Bowen's out to start fall camp. Brent mentioned that they're going to move Kendall Dolby over to cornerback, which is interesting for a lot of reasons. One of them being the effect it has on the cheetah room, but also Kendall Dolby is going to be limited. I don't even know if he practiced today.
Yeah.
He's limited. He's going to be limited during fall camp with an injury. So you look at the rest of that cornerback room, and it's at least healthy guys as of right now. It's Gentry Williams and a bunch of young guys. And Gentry Williams has not obviously been the spitting image of health.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry, I should say Jacoby Johnson.
Jacoby Johnson, yeah. And that's a guy that I think most of us kind of expect to take a step forward now that he's playing one side of the football.
Which, God, it was almost malpractice.
Yeah.
But I don't know how anybody could have any definitive opinions on Jacoby Johnson from last year.
Yeah.
Just didn't look comfortable.
No, I mean, there's a reason why there's not very many Travis Hunters out there. It's just not something that you see.
Well, and also if you're going to do it, you probably don't do it midway through the year.
Right. That would be something that you've done your entire, from the get. So
I will say before I ask you about the concern level about the cornerback room, it was interesting to hear Brent say basically that the top 4 at cornerback is Eli Bowen, Gentry Williams, Jacoby Johnson, and Kendall Dolby. I'm curious about how much Dolby's going to play cheetah when he's healthy compared to how much he's going to play cornerback, but I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of segues me into wondering if you're comfortable moving Kendall Dolby from cheetah, and he very well, like, that tweener spot, of Cheetah between a defensive back. I mean, he fits that mold like a glove. He's such a good player for that spot. That makes me wonder, do you feel that good about guys like Reggie Powers? Do you feel that good about guys like um oh, lost my train of thought. What's his name? It just came over from
Michael
Oklahoma State.
Boganowski, Jaden
Nope,
Hardy.
just came from Oklahoma State.
Oh,
Kendall
Kendall
Daniels.
Daniels.
Is he playing a role there? Like, anyways, for him to say that, for him to come out and say that Dolby is top four there, that especially with what we heard about Newcomb, what we heard about Giller, what we heard not Newcomb, what we heard about Cortland Guillory coming out of spring. I mean, we know the kind of athlete that Malik Hawkins is. Like, there are some young guys that are going to probably push, especially at that spot, like we saw with Eli Bowen do last year. For Dolby to be thrown into that mix at number 4, that tells me maybe I'm overreading, but to me that says he's going to be playing a lot of snaps there. If he's top 4, and that's in Venables' mind at this point, who is calling the defense now, he's probably playing a lot of snaps there going into fall camp. So,
to emphasize one of your things, I think the Reggie Powers stuff at Cheetah is real. I think Reggie Powers is going to have a role.
Sounds like it. Yep. That's your boy too. So
yeah, I've been high on Reggie, man, for a little bit, especially since the spring. He was getting second team reps during the spring.
Yep.
I think he's going to get I think he'll be similar to Sammy Omosigho last year, getting 15 to 20 snaps a game. But part of that is, look, Kendall Daniels is playing a lot of traditional linebacker during the spring. He's playing a lot of Mike. So
good there too.
He was good there. But that's one of the I actually think Kendall Dolby either being limited or playing cornerback or both, or primarily playing cornerback or both. I think I'm interested not only what does that cornerback room look like, I'm really interested in seeing practice tomorrow. What impact does that have on the Cheetah room? I'm really curious who's playing Cheetah. Yeah. It might end up being Kendall Daniels by default, and that might just be where he ends up sliding in anyways. Right. But he was not playing exclusively at Cheetah. In fact, I wouldn't have even said he was primarily playing Cheetah. He's playing a lot of traditional linebacker, playing a lot of Mike.
Well, and what about what does that do with Omosigho? I mean, and a guy like
Omosigho was playing a lot of traditional was playing a lot of Will, I think, during spring.
Yeah. So I mean, that means to me, like you just said, Powers. You obviously you got to feel pretty good about what you got in that room to have other guys kind of moving into other roles. So must be clicking there.
I'm checking my notes. I mean, Omosigho, I think had kind of primarily played mostly traditional linebacker. He's playing a lot of Mike actually too. So I'm really curious what that Cheetah spot looks like. And here's the other thing that I don't think has gotten talked about a lot, Brian, and it's the safety room. Because if Peyton Bowen is healthy, which is a question mark, and he is, Peyton Bowen is healthy to start fall camp. You've got a clear top 2 in Peyton Bowen and Robert Spears-Jennings. Once you get through Jaden Hardy and Michael Boganowski, both high upside players that I think will see some time, there's not a lot of guys in that room. Mm-hmm. And not only not a lot of guys, but definitely not a lot of experience in that room. They're going to need, both at cornerback and at safety, OU is going to be needing a first or second year guy to prove they can play 30 snaps a game.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with the injury history that you have across, I mean, at all positions, at all 4 of those positions. Yeah, I mean, devil's advocate, you're down, if you were down the Bowen brothers and Gentry Williams, suddenly you're looking at a problem. I mean,
I wrote this the other day. I was like, I don't think people are fully realizing how how much a healthy Peyton Bowen is like gonna kind of determine how good the secondary is.
Right. Yeah. Because if he's 100%, like you're talking about a secondary that you, I mean, you probably wouldn't trade outside of another school or two, maybe in the
Maybe.
country. And that's saying something. No, you need guys. I mean, I'm going down the list here. Amarian Robinson. You need guys like that. Devon Jordan is a guy that's going to have to step up
Br-
and
Brent did mention him as maybe as talented an athlete as anybody on the team. I thought that was notable about
yeah,
Devon Jordan.
yeah. I could see that. I could see that in high school. The dude he's a stud. There's all kinds of there's all kinds of guys there. Didi was another guy I think he brought up. And so or Day Day, not Didi. Sorry, there's too many. There's too many. There's
There's too
CD.
many.
There's Didi. There's yeah. Day Day was another guy that they brought up, but like there are players back there. There are guys that have the wherewithal, but that safety, I think that safety room, you saw it a little bit last year, and even in the earlier times of Bowen stepping in, it's a little harder to find the field as a safety than it would be as a corner. And so you're right. There are some spots there that if you were to lose Peyton or RSJ, you'd be kind of between a rock and a hard place. So health is paramount. Fortunately, if you're playing the odds,
Yeah.
you should have a better chance at staying healthy this year than you did last year. So
That's if there are football gods, they talk about the basketball gods, the football gods. I think if you're an OU fan, you're hoping they're on your side
yeah,
this year because last year
some
was
pity. Yeah.
yeah. Um, we're not going to be able to get to everything. I do want to ask you this defensive line, and let me get my hot take voice out. The Oklahoma defensive line is the best in the SEC. True or false? I'll ask you because that's been Dominic Williams said it. That's a guy I didn't mention earlier. He was at Media Day. That's a guy who said it. I think a couple of national guys have said it that OU has the best defensive line in the SEC. What say you, Brian? Does OU have the best defensive line heading into fall camp? Let me hear it.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
Now most talented from top to bottom. I mean, I would be shocked if there's not like 3 deep 5 stars at a place like Georgia. But
Right.
as far as like combination of talent and experience returning, yeah. I mean, I think with what you bring back, when a guy like Grayson Halton kind of gets lost in that's so crazy to say, but like
Yeah.
when he's like the third or fourth name that you mention, you got some dudes because he's a stud. R. Mason Thomas is going to be. I have super high expectations for him. If PJ has finally taken the step that everybody is hoping, and it sounds like he's flashing more. Danny Okoye is a guy on the edge. Marvin Jones Jr. I mean, there are some really big time names on the outside, but the inside, the interior is really where I think you have a chance to see this whole thing round out. Because if you've got a guy like David Stone, Dominic Williams is as big as he has ever been, and is playing well. Like when you've got a rotation with those guys and a Jaden Jackson and a Grayson Halton, like my goodness, it just never stops. And it feels like, they say that you really see a coach's team really come to fruition in year 3. I would argue that last year's defense, while it was top 20 or top 30 in most statistics, the amount of time that they spent on the field, if you were to correlate that with how well they played in like first halves or when they're not they're not gassed. I mean, they were top 10. I mean, that defense, whenever it was able to play at its own pace, look no further than the Alabama game, like lights out. And the defensive line in that game and in others where there was some success, the defensive line was dominant. And I think that that will be even more the case this year. I really honestly don't feel like that's very much of a hot take. I think people kind of get lost in the shuffle a little bit. Oklahoma was 6-7 last year, so they're not any good. No, that the defensive line is really freaking good, and it was last year, and he returned most of those guys. So, yeah, I don't think that's a hot take. I like it.
I want to say one thing, and before I get back to the defensive line, I think one thing that shouldn't get lost in the shuffle of how much pressure there is on this team, how much pressure there is on Brent Venables, how much Jaden Knott and John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, do they raise the ceiling of this offense? I think the one thing that can't get lost is just how impressive the defensive turnaround has been. And I actually don't think that gets talked about. Like, actually thought about enough in terms of how bad OU's defense was under Lincoln Riley. Except in 2020, it was actually weirdly not that bad. I was actually going through the stats the other day. They were
Tony Perkins.
they were like horrific. The defense was like horrific in every other year under Lincoln Riley, except for 2020. Weirdly enough, I actually think that 2020 team gets lost to history. It was actually a pretty damn good team.
Pretty good team, yeah.
But anyways, to have this kind of turnaround, and I actually think as impressive as the Alabama game was, again, this is just a tangent. I actually think that Tennessee game, might have been, if you have a competent offense, I think that could have been OU's best defensive performance of the year. They did everything to win that game.
Yeah, outside of the one bust by Billy Bowman, which was just a fluke. I mean, it just happened. That was a lights out performance. You're right, absolutely right.
Yeah. Tennessee averaged 2.9 yards per carry that game. Also, fun fact, you know what OU averaged that game, yards per rush? Take a guess. 1.1.
Yikes.
34 carries for 36 yards.
That's a real stat.
That's a real stat in a real SEC football game at home. At home. 34 carries for 36 yards. So, yeah, I actually think people want to say I'm negative, which I disagree with, but let me yell this loud and clear. OU's defense in a normal year is a top 15 defense, and I actually think they can be better this year. I think they can be better. I think the defense as a whole can be a top 10 unit. I think it can be the best defense in the SEC and one of the best defenses in the country. I really do think that. Part of that, though, focusing on this defensive line is I think it can be the best defensive line in the country. I think there's two subplots here and that are going to be worth monitoring during fall camp. Can David Stone be like a real guy? Because as much as everybody, including me, loves the talent there, and David Stone played in every game last season, which was impressive, not only because he was a freshman, but because he was hurt for a lot of the year, and he played in every single game. That's important. He's basically stepping into the Dejon Terry role. You know how many snaps Dejon Terry played last year?
A ton.
317. Your fourth guy on the interior of your defensive line played more than 22 snaps, or excuse me, more than 21 snaps in 11 of the 13 games. That's
a big dude too.
And I thought Dejon Terry was good he was solid. Dejon Terry was solid last year. Yeah. David Stone's got to come in and play 20 snaps a game.
Now, when you say he needs to be a dude, you're not saying he needs to eat blocks. You're saying he needs to be a guy that disrupts. Like, is that what you're like? He needs to be a disruptor as far as like pass rush, and
Well, yes, definitely. But I think more than that, just needs to be a guy that can play and be impactful in 20 snaps a game.
yeah,
And 20 doesn't sound like a lot on the interior of a defensive line in the SEC. It's a lot.
yeah,
Even as much as Dominic Williams was the guy that they were shouting out at the coaches' luncheon last week, I do think he's really come into a leadership role. I think last year was a weird year for Dominic Williams. I think this year will be better. You can expect growth from Jaden Jackson and Grayson Halton. I think all those things are realistic and probably expected. But like David Stone needs to be a guy that it needs to be a firm fourth guy who is dependable every game. And that's what that's hard to do.
You know what makes me just so giddy about and this is we're kind of going back to the tangent, the Lincoln Riley tangent. Oh man, it's so awesome to see on the roster 322 pounds, 320 pounds, 313. Like you got some guys.
Speed
you got some beef on the interior of the defensive line, and it is awesome. Yeah, I'm just that just makes me so happy.
No, like I think worst case scenario, the interior of the defensive line is really good. I think
Right.
best case scenario, if David Stone hits and everybody gets a little bit better outside of him or those top three guys, then I think it's the best defense interior just from top to bottom. The other subplot is what happens at the other defensive end spot outside of R. Mason Thomas, because you love the talent there, right? I mean, Marvin Jones Jr., PJ Adibawara, Danny Okoye. I think the Taylor Wine stuff is real. I've been asked that a couple of times. Like, is the buzz about him real? And yes, it is. I think I've told people I envision a Caden Woolard type of role for him, 13 to 15 snaps a game. Like that would be my guess. Again, I have not been to a fall camp practice, but like one of those guys needs to like hit, not like, oh, I see the potential. Oh, Danny Okoye, like, oh, in a year, like could be really good. Like, no, you need one of those guys like to hit.
Yeah.
You know, South Carolina.
Because if that happens, yeah, what you just said, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
No. I loved your energy. You go.
That if that happens, you have a South Carolina situation where you can't slide protection one way. You can't just like you can't say, all right, we're going to focus on our Mason Thomas, and we take care of business there, we'll be okay. If you've got some like if PJ steps into that role, or like Taylor Wine, like you just said, if one of those guys from the other side, you can't slide away from them because they're going to just absolutely wreck you. Yeah, like that opens things up, and then all of a sudden your corner play is a lot easier to look at. Like it really just opens things up, and it shortens the clock for the other team. So yeah, I mean it really does. Having a pass rush, especially from the edges, nothing else makes it easier to play good defense than if you have a good pass rush, and having a guy from each side is vital to that.
That's why, like, to me, a fully realized version of this defensive line is R. Mason Thomas. Take your pick of the three interior guys and put two of them in there. Dominic Williams, Jaden Jackson, Grayson Halton. Like, pick one of those guys. And Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah.
Fully realized, fully healthy, hitting their potential. That can be the best defensive line in the SEC. If the other defensive end spot is like, oh, Marvin Jones Jr. can give you 15 snaps, and here's PJ on a third down 7 times a game, and here's Taylor Wine in this specific package for 6 snaps. Like, that to me is you're going to, like, this schedule is too good. The teams you're playing are too good. Like, they're going to, that's going to get exposed, or at the very least, it's going to get taken advantage of. If you're wanting to be the best defensive line in the SEC, you can't have a position that's like by committee. You're gonna have
the floor is still high.
Yeah,
but
I think like there's no reason to be pessimistic about the defensive end room. I think you can be Like, is PJ going to be healthy? Is it all going to come together? Can Danny Okoye be like a real, even like situational guy that you can actually play? Is the Taylor line stuff real? Does Marvin Jones Jr. put it together? Like all that stuff. But like from a talent perspective, no, there's no reason to be down on it at all. I think the defensive line at worst can be like the 5th best defensive line in the SEC. And that's like if you're dealing with injuries and
Basement. Yeah.
yeah, and other guys just don't hit. But like if you are, when people say, oh, you can be the best defensive line in the country, that means you've got studs and depth at every spot.
Yeah.
R. Mason Thomas can't be your only stud at defensive end to be the best. So that's going to be something like put the other defensive end spot as who is it? Who's taking it? Because I think it's up for grab. I mean, like, I mean, I would expect it to be Marvin Jones Jr., but like, what if PJ just comes roaring in? Like, I'm here. I'm a former 5-star. I have more length than anybody in the country.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would be.
That'd be cool.
I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I'd allow it. We can't get to everything, man, but we're gonna get back to a once a week version of this podcast. Before we go, if you have one, I can give you one. If not, if you've got 30 seconds to a minute on something else you're going to be curious about in fall camp or some other storyline, anything that popped out at media day, if you can think of anything, let me hear it.
Yeah, I'll run with wide receivers. I am really curious. I mean, we've heard the hype about Burks. I mean, we know what Deion Burks can be. We've seen it in glimpses, but we haven't really seen it come to fruition in an OU jersey. Is the Elijah Thomas stuff real to the point that we're going to see it on Saturdays? Is the Sategna? Yeah. Is the Sategna stuff like, is he a guy that actually makes a huge difference? Like, do we see some of those pieces really emerge and give you like a legitimate downfield passing attack? Because if that happens, if you've got threats down the field, with the offensive line, if there's one thing I know, like they're gonna want to run the football heavily. Like they're gonna want to utilize that running back room, especially with what you've got at quarterback. If you can have some vertical threats, if you have some guys that can really stretch the field, the offensive ceiling is like just way up there. So, yeah, I'm excited. I really want to see Elijah Thomas, Zion Kearney. Are those guys, do they take a step? Are they ready to really bring that whole room up?
Kearney's gotten a lot of buzz the last week or so. I'm going to add to that. The guy that I'm watching is Isaiah Sategna, because I don't think people realize what he actually did at Arkansas last year. Had a good year for a really crappy SEC team.
Right.
In terms of experience and production on an SEC field, it's Isaiah among the OU wide receivers. It's Isaiah and like nobody else. And that includes Deion Burks.
And that's in a run heavy. That was a run heavy. Yeah. Anyways, I don't want to, yeah.
No, like he had 6 catches with an ADOT average at the target of 20 yards or more last year. 6. And again, in a run heavy, really crappy offense. Like, and just in terms of like what is actually maybe the most sure thing in the wide receiver core, it's him.
Yeah.
It's him.
Which is wild. But
yeah. So
it's the truth.
Yeah. We're going to be back here next week on the Oklahoma Drill. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Pastor Brian. Pastor Clinton? Pastor Brian?
Pastor Goose has caught on, but
Pastor Goose?
I'm not quite ready for that yet.
Pastor Goose. I love it. Pastor Goose. That's going to be your new name. I'm going to refer to you as Pastor Goose on this pod.
Deal. Sounds great.
Appreciate you as always. We'll be back next week on another installment of the Oklahoma Drill. Until then, you guys have a good day.